This is Uncommonly Remarkable, where we discuss the surprising everyday lives and notable accomplishments of community leaders, entrepreneurs, and everyday folks like you and me. My name is Artis Beatty. I am a doctor of optometry and the chief medical officer for My Eye Doctor OD. Though we will inevitably touch on topics within my area of expertise, the opinions and the conversations held here are separate from my work with my eye doctor. Welcome back to Uncommonly Remarkable. Today's guest describes himself as driven, competitive, a lifelong learner, a family man, and a friend. He is head of retirement plan consulting for CAPTRUST, the largest privately owned registered investment advisor in the U.S. He's been recognized by Plan Sponsor magazine as Retirement Advisor of the Year, is a pretty talented tennis player, and has become my friend over the last few years because he's just great to be around. So, ladies, gentlemen, all you remarkable people, please welcome Mike Hudson to the show.
Artis, thanks for having me.
And I'm excited to have you here. You know, we've been working on lining up schedules, and you travel some, I travel some. And so getting a chance when we both could be in the same place was a little tough. And then I ended up with losing my voice when we actually had scheduled it. And then finally we started getting things back in line. So I'm really excited to have you here.
Me as well. Thanks again.
You work with CAPTRUST, and I have talked to you now multiple times, but we've never really done a deep dive into what it is that CAPTRUST does, and more specifically, what you do with CAPTRUST. And so I would like to start there if we could, and maybe talk a little bit about the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're fortunate. We get to help people every day, and we get paid for it. So it's really, really fun work to do. Ultimately, we are trying to help retirement plans be better performing, lower cost, and advise individuals on how to optimize their savings. And when we do it, people retire with more money, or they retire sooner. And we become a part of the benefit package for these companies that want to help people retire with dignity when they're ready to leave. So it's interesting. You said we are the largest, and we're the largest that is also privately held. So we serve only the employees in the plans. But there's a lot of work to do. There are 600,000 401k plans in America. We work with 5,000, and the next closest works with 800. And so there's still lots of work to do, and we're excited about the opportunity for us.
Wow, that's a significant market share. Talk a little bit then about some of the things. Maybe give me some hypotheticals of how you help improve plans.
Yeah, it's a good question. So let me back up a little bit. And the rules aren't fair, but they're really good for CAPTRUST. The rules governing a company that offers a 401k or pension requires them to be an expert on all things retirement. They're not. Mm-hmm. They're too busy running the company doing what they do best. So they're supposed to be an expert on plan design, investment cost, investment menu construction, interacting with participants, with helping them think about budgeting, therefore they can save more. They're not experts. So they outsource that to folks like CAPTRUST. So we will literally go in and help them reduce the expense ratios of funds. All the costs that I'm sharing with you that we help them remove are being borne by the employees, and they're a drag on their investment return. So when we clean all that up, it just performs better and grows faster.
I see. So if I'm an employer and I have decided that I'm going to create a 401k plan that the employees can participate in, and I've got some level of matching that I'm providing for them, and then whatever the plan is invested in is where you come in, or are you involved in the creation of the plan before that?
We help people make what they have better. So let's just pick on Fidelity. They're the largest provider of 401k plans. We do not do what they do. They hold the money. They offer the investments. We oversee them so it's optimal, because their goal is to make the most profit they can.
Yeah.
So if they can give you a bad deal to have higher profits, they'll do it, but it's on the backs of the employees. And I'll take it a step further, Artis. The legal liabilities at the personal level. So whatever committee level at a company is overseeing the 401k plan, if it's ever deemed a poor performer and hurt the employee's earnings, you could be personally liable to make them whole. That's how serious it's interesting. But again, good for CAPTRUST. And lots of people today, because class action lawsuits are up, are saying, just do it for me.
Yeah, and so you've got this huge market share. What is it that CapTrust offers that other players can't offer that allows you to really have this market share?
The three biggies that have we've actually asked our clients what mattered. Why'd you hire us? And the three things that come up really simply are depth, access, and leverage. So it's the depth of talent that we've got. We've got about 1,600 employees around the country. So it's the talent that we get. We manage just shy of $1 trillion. So when you have $1 trillion, you get access to leadership across the board, whether it's the founder of Fidelity or the founder of a fund management company. If we have questions that we can't Google and get answers, and then leverage, we have buying power to do things cheaper for plans than they can do by themselves. And when you take all those things, it just makes plans better.
So, given that you are generally working with employers and employer groups, as an individual, are there things that, as an employee, you need to be aware of or you should be thinking about regarding your plan? And ask what questions should you be asking to make sure that it's being managed fairly?
You should. I think, you should be inquiring about what are we paying and is it the best that our plan can do? The bellwether is the plan has buying power above what an individual should have. And is it? If an individual could go out with their $100,000 account in an IRA and replicate what you haven't optimized it. That's kind of the simple test.
That's actually really interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us with retirement plans really assume that here's the 401k, here's what I'm contributing to it, here's what the match is going to be, and the plan is going to do well enough. It's what the plan does. But I don't know how many average individuals actually think about the comparison, right? So if they were to do money in an IRA, would it do better than the plan or the same as the plan that they currently have
Correct.
from a 401k perspective? And that's actually a really interesting test.
Yeah, if you could. It's in the interesting part, again, a tailwind for us is our industry is just wrought with conflict. Most of our competitors, and it's anybody in the financial world you could think about, from banks to brokers to other smaller CAPTRUST-like firms, they get paid to make recommendations. They get paid by Fidelity to recommend Fidelity. They get paid by Vanguard to recommend Vanguard. So when you're doing that, you're putting Vanguard ahead of the employee. You've just kind of stepped across how the rules work.
I see.
Has to be employee first.
And those rules are really designed to help protect the employee, but being is there are lots of and that there's loopholes and there's ways in any industry that you kind of sidestep what the rule is, whether it's intentional or not, right? There are ways for you to do that. For a lot of people, it's hard to hear that they are depending on this retirement plan, and it may not actually be working for them or in their best interest all the time.
Still one of the best investment opportunities if you think about it. Somebody's paying 30 to 40% taxes. It's going in pre-tax. Most everybody has some type of match. So you're getting some guaranteed. But if the folks overseeing the plan are picking investments and other service providers that benefit them, they may not be the best.
Are you I would assume you're mostly working with employers, but are you also working with individuals who are looking to maximize?
We are a 35-year-old company. 35 years ago, it was 100% retirement. But over time, they say, we really like what you've done at the committee level. Can you help our participants? Can you help our pre-retirees? And now we're about 50-50. Half of what we do is individual work and half is corporate work. And it's still retirement planning. It's just whether it's in the boardroom or in the individual one-on-one.
And so when you're dealing with individuals, are there common themes or that you see when you're dealing with them that you immediately go, hey, if I could give you advice, don't do that?
Interestingly enough, at every age and income level, the number one topic they want to talk about is budgeting. At 22, it might be help me think about a budget for my student loans so I can get in the plan. At 52, I'm thinking about my retirement home. In the middle, I'm planning for my children's weddings. So planning and budgeting is the number one. The other is just start as soon as you can and put the most you can in. The compounding and the pre-tax and the match is just, you can't beat it.
Wow. Have you had any standout things maybe that you met an individual or an employer or employer group and you thought, wow, they're actually doing a really good job of managing where they are versus, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this before. We got to fix it.
I've seen both sides of it. We had an employer up in Cambridge, Mass. There's a really competitive environment for talent. They're in biotech. And they were doing a really good job. They hired us to make it a better benefit so they could compete more. And we were able to accomplish that. In fact, one year they were actually recognized nationally as the 401k plan of the year for public companies. We're excited about that. On the flip side of that, there was a public company in Virginia that literally, we'll go back to the statement of could you do it better individually in your IRA? They had a $500 million plan that was paying 10 times the market cost being paid by the employees. So they were literally going backwards, even though they were getting a pre-tax deduction in the match. Every year they were losing money. We fixed it, but pretty crazy some of the things that we've seen.
Wow. And you kind of wonder if in those situations, do they realize how bad it is? And so they're just floating along, assuming this is okay. And so what prompts them then to go look for you?
What you just asked is part of the trickiest part, because if I go in and tell you what a bad job you're doing, you're not hiring me. You're hiring the next person in the door. So you got to be really careful about educating. We almost view ourselves as professors first. Let them know what others are doing. Let them know what we've seen in the industry. Almost learn what's wrong together. And then you hope they say, can you just do it for me?
Oh.
And then we're hired. But yeah, if you can't tell them they're doing a bad job and then say, I still want to work with you, that's...
Yeah, that's not really what people want to hear. Sometimes they need to, though.
They do. We spend a lot of time, artists, on the finesse of that, of how do you take somebody down a decision tree and the light bulb goes on. I didn't know that, and you're doing your job. You wouldn't. We'd love to help you, and then just please do it.
Wow. All of this is really just interesting to me because, totally different industry. And so I've got an opportunity to talk to people who do different things, but I get a lot of the financial pieces and I kind of glue them together just because of what we are involved in as an organization, both from what we do from an office level through how we look at it all the way rolled up. But the retirement planning is one of those things where unless you're actually really looking at it and looking for ways to optimize and maximize, you really don't get some of those details about, this is not great, this is better for you to do, thinking about the pre-tax expense and et cetera, et cetera. And so if you have advice for individuals who are looking for help or they are thinking about doing something outside of what their employer supplies, what would you tell them?
I think the first is you got to find someone that's independent. It sounds really simple, but if they're not independent, they don't legally have to give you good advice. So you really need to understand where the advice is coming from, because those that are not independent, no matter what you ask them, they already know the answer before they've met you. It's going to be this bundle of investments because that's how I get paid.
I see.
So I think that is the biggest, but I do think the questions across, are you thoughtfully thinking about your individual as a family, saving, borrowing, and planning?
Mm-hmm.
And saving is different at all the life stages. Planning could be for a house, for a wedding, for the retirement home, and then budgeting at all those different levels. And it's complicated.
I think this is really important, particularly because there's people who will be listening who are at all the different stages, right? And I think the emphasis over the last several years in particular has been really thinking about where you're going to be later. I mean, there's always the question of whether or not entitlement programs will still be around, whether or not the market will continue to perform. There's pressures from inflation. And so there are all these things that are really variable. And unless you really spend the time to think about where you want to be and how you're going to get there, you could get caught and be in the middle of nowhere, right? And so I really think it's interesting. And that advice to find someone independent, I think, is very, very valuable.
Yes, and I think about retirement. This will apply to everybody. There's really, no matter where you are, and some of the stuff that's out there in a money magazine, it's hard. You need to replace 80 cents on a dollar in retirement. It just depends. It's really on lifestyle, location, and health. New York City, you're going to need more than if you live in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to travel the world, or do you just want to go fish on the local pond? And then what's your health? Those are the three drivers, no matter what you read: lifestyle, location, and health. And it could be you need 30 cents on a dollar. I've seen it. Seen people retire. And I've seen people that need 120 cents on the dollar what they were making their last year working.
Really?
Really. So all across the board based on those on those things.
Oh, if I can imagine how you would spend your time, you'd probably travel, but you'd also be playing tennis
Forever, as long as my body lets me.
You've been quite the tennis player for a long time though. So you played in high school and then college, right?
Played in high school and college. I played at East Carolina by luck. I grew up in Jersey. I was going to go to a local school, and a local tennis coach from my hometown landed as the new head coach at East Carolina University. So I had a chance to go, attempt Division I tennis, which was not on my plan. It's the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, why?
I moved down south, met tons of great people, eventually started my career here, met my wife here, and really never moved back. So,
but from the tennis perspective, you said you're going to attempt to play Division I tennis. How did that go for you?
It turned out okay. I actually made the team and played. There's only 6 singles players. There's only 3. There's not a lot of spots. So I did play in the top 6 as a freshman, and I like to compete. You have to problem solve. Interesting, I'll tie this back to retirement. I've seen studies lately that one of the things for retirement and keeping a strong mental acuity, tennis is the best sport because your opponent is different every time and the ball comes over the net different every time. So you're processing differently. How's it going to bounce? Is it high? Is it low? Is there underspin, overspin, side spin? So part of that as a youth was fun, but the competing and problem solving, you're on your own out there.
Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting because you don't think about how those things eventually lead to the way you think about your career. And the fact that you've kept up with it is also pretty impressive to me because, I did not grow up playing tennis. In fact, I didn't play any racket sports until I was in college. And the first time the first racket sport I learned was racquetball, which probably ruins any prospect of learning to play tennis well because I'm a little bit strange in that I can actually hit the ball. I can hold the racket in either hand.
Interesting.
And so playing with right-handed people, I could play with my left hand. Playing with left-handed people, I play with my right hand, which was kind of neat, right? Yeah. I'm a little better out of the right than I am out of the left, but I can play with both. I cannot, however, keep a tennis ball within the giant fences. And so when you talk about the spinning, that's part of the problem is that with racquetball, you do make spins, you are able, but you've got a controlled environment. And when I'm on the tennis court, it's just so open that I like, oh, well, let me just hit it over there. And
completely
that's generally not good.
No, racquetball is such good exercise too. That's fun.
Yeah. And now the world has moved, or I shouldn't say the world, I should say the U.S. has moved to pickleball. And I've yet to play pickleball. And in fact, I've yet to see it actually being played. So I don't know what the differences are, but it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Let's do it together. It's social.
Yeah.
So it's fun. You could learn it in 30 minutes. 2 games, you'll know it. But it's men play with women. You play round robin. It's actually very, very social. And
really?
You can still compete. It's just with a wiffle ball. It's a little slower.
Oh, well, that's definitely my speed.
Yeah.
Slow it down. Slow it down. You actually volunteer some, right, in tennis? Is that right?
We do. It's pretty rewarding. It's especially labeled special needs children, physically okay, but maybe a little bit mentally handicapped, teaching the sport of tennis. And it's been pretty fun watching. I'll give you one story that kind of got me involved. I was watching 2 players that were young women, probably in their mid-teens, playing, and one opponent could not get a single serve in. Couldn't. And it's okay. We have people around the court. They're still having fun.
Yeah.
The opponent puts her racket down, goes on the other side of the net, and shows her opponent how to serve and gets it in, and the opponent aces her and eventually beats her because she taught her how to do it. And they hugged each other at the net. They were so happy they helped each other. And it was just a refreshing look on the world for me.
That's incredible.
It was awesome. So that's kind of what they're giving kids something to look forward to and, letting them compete and kind of get out there.
And how long have you been involved with that?
This is probably year 3.
And what does it entail? Like, I know between your travel schedule, work schedule, your commitment to keeping your game up, like where are you fitting this in?
But the travel's gotten in the way. They do weekly clinics with the kids at Millbrook, all over the state actually. It's run out of Raleigh. A friend of mine got me involved, runs it for the whole state. Oh. And there's weekly clinics in every city. There's a really big fundraiser every year here in Raleigh. I'm pretty involved in that, but less and less with the clinics, which is kind of the fun part.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's really tough because there's a lot of things that you want to be involved in, and you make the time, right? You figure it out, but then travel schedules are tough because then they really can disrupt what you've got planned to do. It's hard to do it when you're just not there.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I've got some control of my travel, but sometimes you just got to go.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta go. I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
When I started the show, one of the things I ask people is to tell me how you describe yourself, whether that's the way you see yourself or the way other people have told you that you appear to them. And one of the things you said was driven. And I want to talk about that just a little bit because I think you have a fairly unique reason for some of the things that you've done. But can you talk about your drive and how you see yourself there and maybe a little bit about what actually drives you?
I didn't know it, Artist, when it happened, but at 16 years old, I lost my mother. And she was dying from cancer. And we know it now. I look back at the day, and I have a brother and a sister. She pulled us each in. She knew it was her last day. We did not. And she pulled us in and gave us her expectations for us, for our future, as only a mother could. And once you get through the pain and sorrow, that's just been a driving force for me my whole life, was to make her proud of what she expected from me.
Yeah.
I'm competitive from sports and had a little bit of that. That just kind of put a turbocharge on when I was having a bad day. The commitment I made to her at that moment, it just doesn't, it's a fire that burns.
Yeah, and it's followed you.
Forever.
Wow. You and your wife have a son.
Yes.
And he's been following Dad's footsteps a little bit, right? First of all, he's awesome. Like I've gotten to spend some time with him. But how have you thought about kind of the way he's going? Have you been able to give him good advice? Have you held back the advice? Like what's going on with this now?
He's great. Thanks for asking. His name's Cole. He is a better version of my wife Chantel and I. He was a tennis player. He played number one in 8th grade at Ravenscroft. Had a chance to play in college and opted not to because there were some academic things he chose over it. He is in the business. He's an investment advisor for Raymond James and doing the individual work where I do the corporate work. Mm-hmm. And he's getting ready to go back to grad school and get a master's in financial planning. So we're really proud. The advice I gave him, it would have been really easy for me to hire him. And I pushed him away and said, go find it. Find somebody that'll hire you because I'm not your dad. And he's done a great job.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really awesome. So the graduate program, where is it now?
It's at the University of Georgia, and we're thrilled. I'm not exactly sure what it adds. So CFP, Certified Financial Planner, is pretty common, hard to get, but this adds a little bit more, making it a master's, and we're told it's one of the best programs on the East Coast. So we were, very proud of him for being able to get in.
And so, when you're thinking about getting into the world of finance and thinking about what you do, maybe what Cole is thinking about, what are the things that are important from an education level to really prepare people for being in those roles? And maybe those same things or maybe things people should look for, think about when they're looking for people to help them with advice.
I think that there are just some basics you have to be in the business, but I do think it's somewhat of commoditized. Once you understand the markets, once you understand tax and some planning, there are a lot of people that know that. Mm-hmm. I truly believe at 32 years in for me that the biggest skill set is communication skills. You really have to be a quick processor to find out what matters. How can you listen, give them what they need, meet them where they are? That's not a commodity. When folks can do that, you're limitless in this business.
Mm-hmm. As we've gotten to know each other and I've gotten to know your family, like I just think that you're right about the communication piece because we've not talked much about planning or anything, but it spills over into your kind of day to day, right? Like you are very quick to say, oh no, you should think about this, or are able to give advice without having to be like, hey, you must do. Is that something that you developed over time? Is that just the way you're put together?
I have been fortunate that somehow or another I've found a way to really talk to people like I'd like to be talked to. Mm. So I think you've got to be a quick processor. What are they really asking? What do they need to know? Do they want a deep dive on Europe's economy's impact on the U.S., or do they just want to know they're getting their $10,000 a month check? I mean, it's everything in between.
Right.
But if you get it wrong, you won't stay hired for a long time.
Yeah. If you had any advice that you could give someone today, what would it be?
Well, first would be you can't learn enough. I'm taking that quote from David Rubenstein at Carlisle. I saw him speak last week. He said, "You can never learn too much," is how he closed his speech. I said, okay, I like that. Focus on your communication skills and really figure out what your audience needs. You could have a family in front of you, husband, wife, kids, want all different things out of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be prepared for that. You cannot over-prepare for all these things. And then the last would be live in the world of what if. When I say this, what are the 3 things they could ask me? If you have those answers, you'll be the trusted advisor. If it's always, I'll get back to you, that's going to wear thin over time.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Live in the world of what if, because that applies to a bunch of different scenarios, right?
Absolutely.
And there are people who live in the world of worst case, right? And that's not a great place to live.
Agreed.
Because you're always behind the 8 ball, right? But living in the world of what if allows you to be prepared, but also allows you to be functional, and ready for what may come, and you get to enjoy where you are.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Takes work.
Yeah. Like, it's been awesome having you come and sit with me. I'm actually really excited that we got to spend the time together, considering we wave at each other every morning. So you're a morning person, I'm a morning person. So I get up, I do my workout. You're waiting for it to get just light enough to play tennis.
Correct.
And so often when I'm leaving, heading to the office, you're coming back from tennis and getting ready to get your day started. And so we often wave at each other as we're going by. But we don't get to see each other that much, even though we're kind of down the street from each other. So thank you for spending the time with us.
Honored to be here and honored to have you as a friend.
Oh, man, thank you. That actually means a whole lot. If you're listening to today's show and you've enjoyed the episode, then make sure you like it and follow us and comment on it. That way we can make sure other people get a chance to listen. And if you subscribe, you'll get a little alert when we have a new episode. Until the next time we all get together, stay remarkable, and thanks for listening.